I'm presenting on Andy Warhol, the king of pop art. And pop art, for those of you who don't know, is a lot different from most art because it focuses on mass-produced images. And Andy Warhol, in the 58 years of his life, produced more culturally significant images than any other artist. A little overview of my presentation. First, I'm going to talk about Warhol's early life and how that helped him get into the art world. And then his networking skills. Then 3 types of his works: political works, portraits, and disasters. Then I'll go over his mass appeal and reasons for that, and then how he's seen today and his influence today. In Warhol's early life, his love for pop culture became apparent at a really early age. When he was 6, he started collecting signed photographs of celebrities. His mother, Julia, was also kind of an artist herself, so it's probable that Warhol got his skills and just talents from her. And this is actually a drawing that his mother did. She liked to draw some angels and cats, innocent things like that. He also had a very difficult childhood, though. By the time he was 13, he had suffered from 3 nervous breakdowns. And when he was 14, his father died of tuberculosis from his work in a coal mine. But this did really help him develop the strength needed to make it in the cutthroat art world. As everyone knows, for most careers, it takes a lot of networking skills to really make it. And Warhol knew this more than anyone. From his moment he moved to New York, he started developing contacts first in the advertising world. And actually, his first commissions came from Glamour magazine. He did the art for some of the articles in the magazine. But his big breakthrough was when he was chosen to be in the New Realist exhibition in the Sydney Janis Gallery. This really was his break from commercial artist into full-fledged pop art stardom. In one of his interviews, Andy Warhol defined pop art as liking things. This seems like a really random answer, as a lot of his interview answers were, but it actually makes a lot of sense concerning the nature of his works. For example, the Campbell's soup cans seem kind of random and unusual, but it actually makes sense because Andy Warhol, for 20 years of his life, had Campbell's soup for every lunch every day for 20 years. So Andy Warhol liked Campbell's soup, so that was pop art for him. Above all, his most famous works were his portraits. Those are the ones people recognize today, and that's actually where he got most of his money during his life. These here are James Dean, Marilyn Monroe, and Elizabeth Taylor. And his Marilyn prints were actually done a couple weeks after her suicide. So it kind of gave the public an image of the stars at their peak before they either died, in James Dean and Marilyn's case, or suffered from countless failed marriages, in Elizabeth Taylor's case. He also had some darker works, like the Disaster series, which the tuna fish disaster, this one here, it actually shows newspaper photographs of 2 women who died from a can of supermarket tuna. So it kind of represents the repetition represents how society tends to see death so often that it becomes immune to it. And so he did a lot of works like this, also some works about car crashes. He also did a political series. This one of the electric chair was focused on the electrocution of a convicted murderer and rapist, Carol Cheeseman, in California. And in this, Andy Warhol spoke against the death penalty and specifically against the governor who had instituted it in California. So Warhol's ability to jump into the political scheme with his work was really showing him as a true innovator in the pop art scene. Another reason Warhol had mass appeal, besides his artistic talent, was his interesting personality. If you've seen Factory Girl or maybe just a documentary about him, you'll know that he's a very quirky person. He had a lot of strange friends. So this video actually shows Warhol on a news station, but for some reason he's lying on the floor and not really answering the questions the guy is asking him. So this will kind of just show you.
Mr. Warhol, are you trying to communicate any message here? It's so pretty down here. I'm not sure.
Well, whatever you're trying to do you think you're reaching anybody?
No. We're not really reaching anybody. But it really looks like stars from down there. Do you see them up there? You really have. You should look up. It's fantastic. Can you see the stars?
Yes, I can see the stars. NX TV 10 News.
So this just kind of shows his quirky, interesting personality. Finally, Andy Warhol today, he still continues to be really famous. You can see his works in the Museum of Modern Art or the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And you can even go to certain websites and make yourself into a Warhol masterpiece, as is seen here. So the fact that Warhol was so prominent in his time and also today shows that he is really the king of pop art. Thank you.